hardly a couple of hours ago, received an SMS which shows 26th June, Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, full stop, quote, addressing drug challenges in health and humanitarian crisis, unquote, courtesy, Criminal Investigation Department, West Bengal. Yes, drugs of various types have become detrimental to the human race as a whole. I agree. Of course, I'm speaking about drugs which are not prescribed by authorized physicians or surgeons, or even those carrying out the medical profession effectively and efficiently. But the question does not merely lie in the drugs themselves. It lies also on the very manufacturer's production. If such drugs were not manufactured or produced, consumers could not consume them. And perhaps it would be more appropriate to say that no human being could consume them. Drugs often are to blame for exciting people, even to incite individuals to commit various types of crimes, which no doubt include domestic violence, violence against other groups of people, even racial violence, and violence which may be distinctly distinguished as violence based upon mentality on discrimination. But the question remains why such incidents occur. I have been searching the answer to such questions for a number of decades and still remain at a total loss. Producers must ensure that the wrong kinds of drugs do not reach the consumers who may be seriously affected by such drugs to negativity, if I may use the expression, in inverted commas or in speech marks. Manufacturers are to blame for producing such drugs, which affect human beings to such an effect that they become so violent that they forget humanity as a whole. Dutch courage is often an expression used by many lawyers, and the old proverb that is also well recognized by common law as a whole: he who commits an offense drunk, let him die sober. That proverb may be far-fetched, and I shall most probably be the very last person to support that proverb. People often act under intoxication without knowing what is right and what is wrong. But intoxications are not the only root of such problems, or I should say, the roots which gradually increase the plants of injustice and violence, even crimes and felonies, to grow from the ground. Intoxications sometimes can be quite harmless, provided, of course, the nature of that human being is sober by itself. I'm not referring to soberness contrary to being drunk. I'm talking to soberness as a gentle nature of a human being. In my personal case, I remember well, some of my colleagues once taunted me at a meeting, or I should say, at a gathering in the residence of a colleague of mine many years ago. At that moment, I used to live at Bonn in Germany. I was reluctant to drink alcohol in public, but they made fun of me, saying, referring to my name, and making jokes. There was half a bottle of whiskey left on the table. I ate peanuts. I consumed other types of food, including cheese and various other types. And I remember giving out or pouring out a glass from that half a bottle of whiskey to someone else, and I consumed the rest. On my way back to my personal residence, I found even a bunch of keys lying on the floor or on the ground on a street. I picked those branches of keys and returned them to the police station on the following day. No doubt I was intoxicated by such alcoholic beverage, but I was neither violent nor was I any kind of person who would be undesirable or be considered as persona non grata, because my nature did not speak out for violence. But when drugs and other kinds of beverages, including alcoholic beverages, reach consumers who are violent by nature, they become considerably violent by availing so-called Dutch courage. Dutch courage should not be pardoned, nor should it be encouraged. But at the same time, it is important to remember the fact that unless products or manufactured goods which are likely to encourage violence reach the consumers who practice violence, such violent acts would most probably not occur. Today, many people have been campaigning in order to ensure that gun laws are brought under control. I do not know whether I should be a proponent or an opponent to such proposals. But the fact remains fact that guns do not kill individuals. Individuals kill individuals. Groups kill groups and communities. And the important thing is that wrongful items should not reach those who propose violence or practice violence by nature. It becomes necessary to ascertain why such individuals turn to violent acts of violence as a whole. I personally believe that controlling certain productions may at times control certain violent acts, but at the same time, it is important to ascertain why individuals turn to violence. Time and time again in the past, I spoke out against, I beg your pardon, time and time again, I spoke out against film industries which show films, or I should say produce films, which also encourage individuals to become violent. Because such films are likely to trigger individuals' minds to commit certain acts. But those films are also to ensure that those individuals who are likely to appreciate violence ought not to be viewers of such films or movies, which no doubt ought to include almost any and everyone who may be tempted to commit violence. Domestic violence are to be blamed not merely upon the nature of individuals, but also how they are trained, how they are brought up. From my early childhood, I had to learn to appreciate peace prevailing over violence. And today, even though sometimes I may lose temper, I know how to control my physical acts, which at times may be different in cases of individuals who are tempted to commit offenses based upon serious types of violence. This is the reason why violent acts have become so common today. Film industries often produce films, also called movies, which are likely to influence individuals and groups to commit violence. I'm referring not merely to acts which are likely to kill individuals, but also domestic violence, violence against women, violence against girls, violence against children, violence against little boys, violence against babies. It is so easy today to access to films and movies which are absolutely disgusting by their own nature, but at the same time, they trigger violence because they, if I may use the expression again, in inverted commas or within speech marks, they intoxicate their viewers to commit violence. So it is not merely drugs or even alcoholic beverages which are likely to encourage individuals to cause violence. Even films and movies are likely to do the same if they're consumed by the wrong individuals. Therefore, it is extremely important today to ensure that such manufactured products, if I may use it again, within inverted commas or in speech marks do not reach those consumers who are likely to be affected by such manufactured products, whether they be movies or films or drugs or alcoholic beverages or other manufactured products. This is today decisive. I reiterate the phrase, the old one, guns and weapons do not kill individuals. Individuals kill individuals. Groups kill groups. Communities destroy communities. States destroy states. Therefore, it is decisively important today to discourage such acts by all of us who claim to be worthy human beings, even my most humble self, if I ever be considered to be a worthy human being. This be my claim today. On this, the 26th of June, so-called the Anti-Drugs Day for the world community. I thank all of you and bid you the protection of the same Almighty Creator who created all of us, even those victims who are victimized by their silence. Good night from my country on today, Sunday, the 26th of June of the Gregorian year 2022.